So I heard you wanted to understand how the inner workings of a Planetary BMX Freecoaster hub actually work. We've come to the right place because today I'm going to be using this brand new Alienation Venus Freecoaster hub to show you how the internals of these hubs actually work and allow you to have a Freecoaster that is not only a cassette at the same time, but is also a Freecoaster that you don't have to disengage for it to coast, and you also don't have to re-engage it for it to be a cassette while you're moving forward. If none of that makes any sense to you, check out the playlist in one of these corners on the screen where I have very in-depth videos explaining exactly how that works and showing you very in-depth. So, in order to explain this, we need to take this thing apart. I will say this Alienation Venus Freecoaster hub is available now at most BMX mail orders, as well as local bike shops that work with J&B importers. That being said, I helped design this Freecoaster as well as give it its name, and I'm so excited for that. So we're going to take off the pop and go hub guard that just goes onto the hardware on both sides. We're taking the drive side off so that we can get to the internals and show you guys how they work. So we're taking off the drive side jam nut right now. So let's take our driver off here and I'll show you the driver first. What we're looking at with the driver is a driver with 3 pawls, and if you look closely here, you can see that they spring downward. The springs on these things pull it downward, and that is very important with how this hub works. So let's take a look on the inside of the hub here. You see that there's this piece with 3 different looking kind of wedge pieces. That's what they call them. But if we spin this hub independently of the axle, you'll see that that thing rotates. That's very interesting. Now, I'm holding this upside down, so whenever I rotate it the correct way, it looks wrong here. So I'm going to rotate it the other way just for the sake of understanding. But if you can imagine, these pawls are springing downward, meaning that they're trying to stay closed. When we rotate this hub, it's spinning that wedge piece, and you can see the ramp there, which is this piece right here. You can see there's a ramp that kind of goes upward. Now it looks like the ramp. That ramp comes in contact with that pawl and lifts it up. So you might be wondering now, what happens when that wedge lifts the pawl all the way up and gets to the end of where it can travel? What happens there? And to explain that and show you, I'm going to use this Allen wrench to hopefully hold things in place as we rotate this hub. So we're rotating the hub, and as you can see, the Allen is holding that wedge piece in place, but the hub is still rotating. And what that means is that once it lifts that pawl up, this piece stops moving. The wedge piece stops moving even though the hub is moving. And that is how the driver can stay in place and be a cassette while it's moving forward. And I hope that that helps explain to you how this hub is a cassette while it's moving forward. But what about the Freecoaster while moving backward part? I said previously that you don't have to disengage this hub, and what I mean by that is that it's the exact same concept as moving forward and lifting the pawls, but in reverse. So as soon as this hub goes from rotating forward to rotating backward, let's go up and explain what happens. So we're in cassette mode, and these pawls are lifted by all 3 of these wedges. The hub is moving forward, but this is staying in place as we've already explained. So when the hub is moving forward, it's going one direction, and I'll show you here what happens when you go backwards. Boom. This wedge system immediately goes moving forward, moving backwards. It rotates in the opposite direction. So you can imagine that if these pawls were being lifted by that triangle piece, which was being pushed into them, the second that the wheel and the hub starts rotating backwards and it spins the opposite direction, this is exactly what happens to all 3 pawls. Boom. And to explain this even further, I'm going to go ahead right now and take apart the clutch system just to show you guys exactly what I'm saying visually. All right, so what we're looking at right now is the wedge piece that I was talking about with the 3 wedges and ramps on it. You can get a much closer look at how this works. When the hub is rotating, you can see right here that when it rotates into the pawls, it lifts them up. And we've already demonstrated how this thing stays in place and makes this thing a cassette while it's moving forward. So we just explained that it's the opposite when it's moving backwards, and as soon as the hub rotates backwards, this is what happens, and this is what I just explained. Boom. Pause, drop. Obviously, it's much better than that and more consistent than this, than what I'm explaining, but right here you can see how this works. Moving forward, it's pushed into the pawls, lifting them. As soon as it moves backwards, boom, they drop, and this thing is allowed to be a free coaster. So I hope that this now helps you understand fully the way that this works on the inside. Now, when it comes to this planetary clutch system, this utilizes planetary gearing, and I'm not even going to pretend like I understand how exactly that works. I'll just say that there is a gear on the inside, which we've already seen. This gear, then there is 4 planetary gears going around it. And then on the inside of this outer piece, there is another gear similar to this one, but facing inward. And basically that allows this internal and external part to rotate independently of each other. And some combination of those things, as well as the rest of this, allows it to move it forward like that, how I explained, with the pawls to be a cassette. And then as soon as it goes backwards, it brings it back down to be a free coaster. And real quick, for anybody who's been following the 2022 BMX bike build series that I've uploaded a couple episodes of already, this is part of it. That's why I was saying that there's something coming very soon, and kind of looked at the rear end of the bike. This hub is that something. I'm going to be lacing this up to a Vandal rim, and it is going on the 2022 BMX bike build. I've got another episode, maybe 2, that's gonna come out before that happens, because I'm waiting on something with this, but I'm super stoked that this thing is going on to that front brake bike, and I know it's gonna look good on there, and I hope you're as excited as I am about it. So that's my somewhat basic overview and explanation on how the inner workings of these planetary BMX free coaster hubs actually work. As I said before, this brand new Alienation Venus hub in polished, which is my signature color, or black, is available at BMX mail orders, as well as local bike shops that work with J&B importers. So pick one of these up. They're available right now. You can buy them. Thank you to Alienation for involving me in this process as much as they have. Naming it, helping design it was a dream, and I'm so grateful for it. So I'd be very grateful to all of you guys who might consider picking one of these up and sending me pictures of it on your bike. That is going to be so amazing, and it's going to be awesome to see them out in the wild. So that being said, I hope that you guys learned something from this. I hope that it helped you, and if it did, or do you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below, and I hope that you enjoyed it enough that if you're new here or you haven't yet, you'll consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there, and we'll see you tomorrow for another one. Thank you for watching.